this thing on? Hello, hello. Welcome to Open Pike Night. I'm your host, John T. Bolds, here tonight with some amazing guests on stage and in the studio with an open casting call for roles that have been filled for over 50 years. Joining me tonight are my co-hosts. First up on the call sheet is host of Sudden But Inevitable, Jesse.
Cast it into the space fire.
And next up on the call sheet, coming in for round 2 is host of Green Shirt and Newbies Trek Through TNG, Cameron.
Open Pike Night Fantasy Casting. How are we not a fishing podcast, guys?
And over on the casting couch is Patrick from the It's Got Star Trek podcast.
Hi.
Don't mind the stains.
Yeah, that's my slogan for the week. It's been a long
Perfect.
one.
And we just want to start out thanking everybody who called in and wrote in for this episode. We had some great suggestions we get to share with everybody tonight. And Patrick, hey, thanks for being here with us tonight.
Truly, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm excited.
It's great to have you. It's great to get some more Star Trek podcasters on here. And we definitely want to give a shout out to our $25 tier patrons, Pam, Mark, and Steve, for showing us that high level of support, believing in independent Star Trek podcasting, and believing in Open Pike Night.
And I'd like to take this moment to ask all three of those people to please, as huge Star Trek fans, seriously, go check out It's Got Star Trek. You've heard me talk about it before. It's not something I just do. It's a podcast I listen to every week, just like Green Shirt and Open Pike Night. So go do it. I promise you will not be disappointed.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
It's true. Every podcast before we start, it's like, why can't you guys be more like the Scott Star Trek guys?
We try and say it enough to get them to start questioning their life decisions and really just.
We do that. We do that on a daily basis.
Yeah, exactly. Be more like It's Got Star Trek. So,
and I do think that comes through on our podcast.
If it doesn't come through on your podcast, then you're not really doing a podcast. If it's easy and comfortable, then you're not really suffering for your art of podcasting, talking about Star Trek. So, guys, you ready to cast some roles that we're probably going to end up seeing at some point here on Strange New Worlds?
Right. We are not encouraging that we see these characters show up on Strange New Worlds. I mean, I think they could be done right, and if they do them right, great.
Well, beyond that, it wouldn't really make sense for some of them to show up on Strange New Worlds, given when it's set in the continuity, etc.
Yeah.
But there were some people that pointed that out on Twitter. They're like, well, these characters, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm like, okay, but you still gave me an answer for Dr. Boyce.
Yeah.
So why don't you just give me an answer for all the other ones that we asked for? So
yeah, I mean,
it's a game. It's for fun.
I'm impressed with people who know the year that Saavik entered Starfleet Academy. Wow. I did not know that year. We were just trying to think of another female character iconic from the TOS era that we could cast.
Yeah,
so,
Saavik was one of the ones.
I like Saavik.
I was thinking about that with Saavik. Now, granted, I did not know the year she entered the Academy, but I did think, you know what? In this era, I'm not exactly sure what she'd be up to.
She's a Vulcan. They're like 16 for 100 years, so it's fine.
Yeah, and she could just be. We're not saying put her in there in the Monster Maroon, right? Maybe she's just a cameo in an episode or something. We don't know.
We just feel summer camp. Exactly. The summer camp with Chekov and Saavik, and they're all just.
Or she brings the time crystals back during the next time travel.
Hey,
thank you.
There we go.
Yeah.
Why? It's so easy. I love this show.
Speaking of the next time crystal episode, we should probably actually address really the biggest news we've gotten recently, and that is season 2 air dates have been announced for Strange New Worlds. So we are 2 months and 2 weeks away from June 15th, which will be the premiere date for Star Trek Strange New Worlds season 2. Guys, are you psyched for that?
I'm so fucking psyched.
Oh yeah.
I am so excited. I'm excited to start up weekly conversations with our listeners and our guests about these episodes. Totally.
I'm excited for the opportunity to submit audio clips to Open Pike Night again for the each episode, the weekly episodes. That's
your guys' are always a delight, so I'm looking forward to that too.
Absolutely. And to do that, like Patrick said, to submit audio clips, which many of you did for this episode, go to openpike.com/join us. There's a record button right there. You enter your name, email, and talk your message right into your phone. Hit submit after you tell a computer what a stoplight or a crosswalk is. And there you go. That's literally all you need to do. And we want to hear from everybody. We got some returning callers tonight. We got some new callers tonight. So
you guys have removed all the barriers, right? All
we
the only remaining barrier is shyness, and that is not a good enough excuse to participate because everyone here is very nice. And
Jesse has the ability to bully that out of people on Twitter.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
Successfully wore them down.
If you're too shy to get your voice on there, grab a friend, be like, dictate what I say into this phone for the next 90 seconds.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And think about it this way, like, even if you send in an objectively bad call, I will probably be like, this is one of my new favorite calls. And I love this person's passion, et cetera, because
absolutely.
That's how I am. I look for the positive, especially when Star Trek is involved. And to that point, yes, you guys, season 2, Strange New Worlds, there are so many reasons to be excited. Not only is it more Star Trek, but I'm going to get to see all those one-word teases that we've heard in our previous interviews and things like that. And I can't wait for it. And beyond that,
we need a sound effect for our show whenever, like we mentioned, whenever we think we've stumbled across one.
And and we'll put them all over the socials, wherever you need to follow us, Twitter, Instagram. If you want to look for us on Discord, just look up @OpenPike, or do that on Twitter and ask for the Discord, Instagram, or just go to openpike.com. Everything is in one place there. As Patrick said, we really are trying to remove all the barriers. We're working on getting a phone number. We feel like that might be a thing that would help, but there's so many people with smartphones now. It's like, you got a smartphone, you've got Open Pike Night. So
yeah, it's like, do we get a phone number, or do we just write an app that you can record a message to us? Because it's
right. If you're listening to a podcast, you know how to visit a website.
Exactly.
Yes.
Now, I will say before we get started, I am incredibly nervous to build a cast of any kind in a room with Cameron, because Cameron has this ability to like just pick out a character where I'm like, either I was exactly going to say that, or like that is brilliant in a way that immediately connects with me, and I'm now mad that I didn't say that. So I am very nervous, but I'm excited to get going with this, you guys.
You say that, Jesse. If we were doing like an 80s, 90s cast, I might not so humbly agree with you. But I got to tell you, I was Googling, because most of the characters we're Googling are about 29 years old, 29 to 30-ish age range. So I Googled working 29-year-old actors. I did not recognize a single name. I accidentally put in 39 at one point, recognized every single actor on there. I was like, oh, I love that guy. I love him. I
can't believe this person is young enough. Yeah,
I'm terrible. I'm looking forward to our caller suggestions. I may need them.
And I will say, I leaned heavily on my wife this week. I was like, sweetheart, do you know some actors that are not 40? And she went, we just watched these 3 movies. I was like, you're right. And I really liked a couple of those actors. So
So Jesse's entire enterprise is going to be filled with the cast of Scream 6.
Not the entire thing, but yes, there are some cast members from Scream 6 in my cast.
Oh, I've got
Jesse, it says
one
here
or two TV series
Ghostface for Bones McCoy? Is that because he's got a knife or what?
Have you heard what Ghostface says to people? I'm pretty sure that's just McCoy. But now to Cameron's point, we did have a lot of help also from Twitter this week, so thank you if you are following us on Twitter @OpenPike, and thank you to everybody who called in. You guys, I am really excited. Is there anything else we need to get out of the way before we jump into this?
I do think we should just go through the cast that we are casting real quick, so people know what to expect.
This is why
we've got Dr. Boyce from the pilot where we met Pike. We talked a lot about him last episode, actually, and wondering if we'll see him. So he's on there. Like I mentioned earlier, we realized we're kind of female light on the unused Star Trek characters. So we were looking for another one. Saavik from the TOS movies, played by Kirstie Alley and Kim Cattrall. Is that right?
No. Kim Cattrall.
No, who
did not play Saavik?
Kim Cattrall?
Robin Curtis.
Star Trek, though,
Robin Curtis.
Robin Curtis.
Saavik was...
See, Jesse,
Kim Cattrall
you
was
should already
supposed
feel
to
better.
be Saavik, but they were like, we can't do this again. And,
right.
That was it. Okay. Janice Rand, one of the big players in season 1. Then we've got Chekov, of course, Sulu, Scotty, and Bones rounding out the rest of the TOS cast.
Yes, and I have to say, some of the picks that I heard for Janice Rand were inspired and brilliant. It seems like Scotty is where some people had some trouble coming up with something.
I thought he'd be the easy one.
I thought he would be the easiest one,
I had trouble. I had trouble, but I thought other people would.
I will 100%. Okay. Here's how my methodology went when I was picking my team. If I didn't have somebody in mind, I would just Google like a phrase that describes the kind of person that I wanted to, and then I would go through their list and like try and watch highlight reels or clips of dramatic work that they had done to be like, okay, they've got this kind of a voice, when they're in high drama and that kind of a thing. It didn't work every time because there was a few spots where I was like, I don't want to watch this. And also there's such a long list of names. But
Jesse, is this the most pod prep you've done for an episode yet?
Easily, because there's nothing here to remember. Like, I can't just listen to the episode on a loop for 3 days before we record and go, I know everything that happened in this episode 100%, because this hasn't happened yet. Now, to that point, I just, like I said, I had to get outside influence. I had to dig deep. I had to use the internet. I mean, this was difficult for me. Patrick, I have reason to believe that you have maybe used slightly more scientific Star Trek adjacent method to pick your cast.
Well, that's one way to put it. Another perspective might say that I cheated. I asked ChatGPT. Basically, I asked it how to cast these characters. It was as simple as that. I listed out the characters and I said, please provide casting suggestions for these characters. But I also went back and forth with ChatGPT a few times just to kind of say, okay, maybe younger, maybe, what's an unexpected person to cast in this role, that sort of thing. So just to build up a little bit of a bench in each of these sections. And I was amused and also intrigued by some of the suggestions that came up. So we'll see how good / realistic some of the choices that ChatGPT came up with.
We have a member of our Discord, and who has called before, Palladium 3, actually. He used ChatGPT, and I believe he repeatedly came up with Army Hammer, and everybody was like, "You can't put him in Star Trek, man!" Like, and he's like, "No, I'm not saying I'm going to. I'm just saying that's the answer." I kept kidding.
I was like, "No, you have no choice. The computer says to do it. You got to."
Kind of started asking ourselves, like, what did he ask to get that answer? Like,
yeah.
There's no way you just said cast someone in Star Trek, and it was like Army Hammer.
I can state that Army Hammer did not come up in any of as a response to any of my questions. So.
Very suspicious, Palladium 3. Just throwing it out there. Cameron or John, did you guys have an interesting methodology, or did you just apply good old-fashioned logic and emotion?
I relied heavily on my wife too. We had a 2-hour car drive and just banged heads together. I hear she went around me and may have submitted one even. So we'll see if she did later on.
You guys went on a car drive about this? You were like,
no, we were driving to the beach because we're coastal elites.
Right, gotcha.
But yeah, if I didn't have someone in mind, which was usually the case, we just kind of tried to think of any recent movie we watched with a younger cast or a TV show we've actually kept up on in the past couple of years. My cinema knowledge has gone down drastically. You can look at exactly 8.5 years ago when my first kid was born. Just a precipitous drop in knowledge. But I think I'm mostly pleased with most of mine.
Yeah,
blaming it on the younger generation is a good tactic.
I went with the tactic of like, I'm going to cast people I know or have seen at least some of their work, which obviously limits it a lot. But at the same time, I was like, no, I want to cast based on people who I think can actually fill these roles based on what I've seen. So, and I tried not to make it like full on A-list at the same, like movie star A-list. I was mostly successful in that, but yeah, we'll just have to see.
We're, going to get to the end of this and John's cast is going to be 40% Jag.
Yeah. I need to change one of my choices.
All right, let's get started. I'm excited. I'm eager. I'm eager to hear your guys' picks.
Okay, okay.
All right, we begin with Dr. Boyce. Let's hear from our community first, because again, we may want to steal from our highly intelligent callers.
This is a good idea.
All right, here is our first caller.
Hi, I would like to expand on my comment from a recent Open Pike episode and talk about recasting Dr. Boyce with Trek actor Jeffrey Combs. Over the course of DS9, Enterprise, and Voyager, Mr. Combs has played very memorable characters such as Weyoun, Brunt, and Shran. He handled both dramatic and comedic stories well. He knows the Star Trek style, approach to storytelling, and production process, so he would make an excellent Dr. Boyce. According to IMDb, he is still performing and is in the same general age range as John Hoyt when he first portrayed the Doctor. He looks a little like John Hoy too. I hope we see Jeffrey Combs on the show advising Pike. Thanks, and live long and prosper.
All right, there was Peter's suggestion for Boyce. Next up, we have Jesse from Alaska.
Hey, this is Jesse from Alaska. I have 2 solid suggestions for Dr. Boyce, kind of older actors, and they're completely different. One is Paul Blackthorne, and the other one is Michael Wincott. And I think both of them could play Dr. Boyce in different ways so well and yet so different. Paul Blackthorne was in Dresden Files as Harry Dresden, and Michael Wincott, he's been in so much stuff. He was in The Crow as the bad guy.
Yeah, like long, creepy hair bad guy with like the...
Oh, yeah.
Michael Wincott is the
great.
Wyatt Spoon guy from Robin Hood.
Yes. Oh, my, you put him in anything.
Yeah, he was in, I remember Alien Resurrection. I really liked him. Yeah, Michael Wincott, it's a pretty inspired choice.
I like that.
He was in Nope recently as the director.
Oh, okay.
He wasn't the director. No, he played the director within the film.
Yeah.
Okay, and our last caller for Boyce. Here we go.
Greetings, Open Pike. This is Kelly Zink-Georgi, or Antipodal on Twitter. My suggested actor is Enver Goja, who portrayed the character of Daniel Sousa in both Agent Carter and then in Season 7 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.s. My chosen Star Trek Legacy character for Star Trek Strange New Worlds I would like him to portray is Dr. Boyce. Fan fiction has often paired up Dr. Boyce and Chris Pike. It would be interesting to see the dynamics of Enver Goja and Anson Mount on screen. Live long and prosper. Kelly signing off. Hailing frequencies are closed.
Hey, vote for Enver Goja, who was actually on my short list for another character, but I remember him first from the... who made Dollhouse? Was that Cameron? James Cameron?
Was that?
No, was that
it doesn't matter who made
Abrams?
him.
Whedon.
Was that a JJ?
It was Whedon.
No, Whedon, you're right. Yeah, it was Whedon.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Yeah.
thought we were doing a bit.
No.
We were talking about Whedon.
Oh, yeah.
No, okay.
I gotta say, I personally absolutely love Kelly's 100% on brand reasoning for wanting Enver to be Dr. Boyce. I think that's super great, and I love that. I hope that energy stays forever. So, and you know, I'm pretty sure it has for like a considerable number of years. So, thank you so much, Kelly. I've actually never heard of that actor. I don't know that I've seen that.
Oh,
that
you gotta
thing
watch
just
Agent
mentioned.
Carter, Jesse.
Agent Carter.
Yeah,
Agent Carter's great.
Yeah, he's actually in he's in the first Avengers movie, not as that same character because it's obviously years later, but he's just a small role as a cop in the Battle of New York at the very end. Yeah. So, but yeah, I've seen him in several shows, and yeah, I think he absolutely could fit in on the Enterprise pretty well.
Totally.
So that's all the calls we got for Boyce.
That's all the calls we got for Boyce. Yep.
Danny Epperson at Danny Epperson on Twitter suggests for Dr. Boyce either Daniel Craig or Eric Dane. I think Eric Dane personally, to me, looks more like he could play like a Pike relative of some kind. But I mean, I think that puts him in about the correct age range for Boyce. I thought Daniel Craig, I mean,
That's a good one.
if we're gonna see Boyce for like half an episode like we did, right? If he's just here for part of an episode and then he's back out, I don't think there's any reason not to shoot for Daniel Craig.
Guys, would that be the Ryan Johnson guest direct episode?
I'd be here for
now
that.
I'm excited.
I have no opposition to that even a little bit personally. And then at Freaky Sphere also suggested Aidan Quinn for Dr. Boyce, and the photo that I saw of that, I was like, that's also a good pick. I'll be honest, you guys, I really like all these picks, but I think I still like my Dr. Boyce pick even more.
Well, Jesse, you are in luck because you get to go first. We will be doing this draft style, so once an actor is picked, that actor can no longer be picked for any character by any other host for the rest of the draft. So
noted. So
once you lock it in,
I'm going to throw these names out there and then I'm going to lock my final choice in. Initially, I was thinking, okay, let's get cheeky, Nathan Fillion, right? Like that would be great. I think that would be funny. I'm also considering this to be like a partial episode, one episode cameo because Strange New Worlds has shown itself to be much more episodic, etc. So, and then I was like, you know what if we went just a little bit older and a little more worldly, like some lived pain. And I went, oh, Jean Reno. Like, I want to see Jean Reno in Star Trek in any capacity. And I feel like if we were to give him half an episode to just shine through and really take some time with this crew, right? Because we know this crew can act. I would love to see that. But my heart, it landed immediately on Charles Dance. And I was like, this is the fit. Like, this is the character played by an actor that you immediately want to make this character approve of what you're doing. And you feel like this weird paternal protection on top of like a slight danger at all times, right? And it's not that I feel a Starfleet doctor should necessarily feel dangerous. It's just that Charles Dance has like this constant like low boil of just, intensity, right? And like if you're a doctor in space, I think that would serve you well. So
I'm just going to say, watch Alien 3 to see exactly the role that Jesse is talking about played by Charles Dance, because that's his role in Alien 3. So.
Which I clearly have not done.
That's a fantastic pick, except I would just be waiting for him to turn into a nightmare fuel stop motion flying demon at every point.
Or just
Thank you, the Golden
phaser
Child.
somebody in the hall and just be like, I have just phasered somebody.
But let's be real, though. Cameron is always waiting for somebody to turn into a stop motion something, right?
That's true.
I
It's
mean,
true. That'll be my favorite episode of Strange New Worlds ever, no matter what else happens.
So with all of that having been said, I think I have to lock in Charles Dance for my first pick as Dr. Boyce. I mean, that would be my pick, personally.
John, you're next.
Okay. I really like the suggestions we got from the community. Those are some great ones. I was thinking about it. I'm like, all right, I want an older doctor, somebody who comes in, says, you know what you need a drink, you need to chat, what we've seen Dr. Boyce do. I'm like, what older guys have I seen who are great at walking in, handing out judicious alcohol and solving problems? I got to go with John Slattery from Mad Men. And I think
all right.
I think he would be really fun in the role. He'd be the right, sort of wry, sarcastic, exactly the kind of sounding board that Anson Mount's Christopher Pike could need. So I'm going to go with John Slattery.
That's good.
I really thought you were going to say the most interesting man in the world from Dos Equis, considering your setup. But I think your pick is pretty good, too.
That's good. Patrick, you're up next.
So one thing about the Boyce character that's kind of interesting compared to the others is that for all of the rest of the characters, we've seen them in a wide variety of circumstances. But Boyce, I only really think of him as sort of leaning over, being like, I gotta grab life by the balls, or whatever it was he was saying. But the thing where he's having that conversation in Pike's quarters. And so every actor that's been mentioned by the people who submitted ideas and by you all. That's what I'm just like copying and pasting that actor into that hunched over like. Rah, rah, rah. So, but again, I use Chat GPT, so and I want to I don't want to mischaracterize what the computer said, so I'll just read this very brief description here. It said Boyce is a relatively minor character in the series, but I could see someone like Forrest Whitaker bringing depth and nuance to the role. I gotta say, it is a bit of an out there suggestion, but when you talk about that combination of caring and sort of danger and a sort of a sinister aspect to it, Forrest Whitaker could definitely pull that off. But anyway, that's what the growing emerging artificial intelligence thinks would make a good casting choice for Boyce would be Forrest Whitaker.
All right.
Given what I've seen of him recently in that other Star franchise, I could totally see that. Like, just a grizzled, angry, but compassionate guy. Like, totally works.
All right. Well, I mean, I'm torn now that no one did pick Jeffrey Combs, because I do think he's probably the best choice. My enthusiasm last episode when he was mentioned, I mean, probably the best choice. But personally, who I would just want to see in the role as, kind of the warm, grizzled buddy, kind of cynical, able to pass out the drinks. I'm picturing him going on shore leave to Risa. Wouldn't it be great to see Boyce on Risa with like some dark sunglasses and like a Vegas style jacket, just amazing white hair?
No.
Yes,
no.
I am thinking of Bruce Campbell playing Dr. Boyce, and I want to see no one else in that role now.
So your very nice suit pantomime motion is exactly the same as the outfit from Zardoz pantomime motion. I don't know why that is. I was immediately like, oh, he's going to say the Zardoz thing. Oh, it's a suit. Okay. All right.
And as part of his visit to Risacam, I would say he would absolutely ignore the rest of the crew. He's like, I don't know you. I am here to relax. Your problems are your problems.
He knows everyone on Risa by name.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he lands and they're like, oh, Dr. Boyce, welcome back. I could totally see that.
Boyce was exciting because he was the one character who we had to cast older than we're used to seeing him.
Yeah.
Right.
Everyone else was the tricky, casting 8 to 10 years younger.
Yep.
This is the one where we all had 3 or 4 written down, and the rest are all like, it has to be this person because that's all I know.
All right, yeah, let's move on to Saavik.
All right.
Our Vulcan.
All
What
right,
was her position?
She was a lieutenant, or was she an ensign? I thought she was a lieutenant.
She was a cadet, and then presumably an ensign and something after that.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Our Vulcan cadet.
Yeah.
Yes.
Somebody who can help bring Spock back to life. So here's our caller, Abby.
Hey, Open Pike. It's Abby Summer from the First Flight podcast. Okay, so I know I have to make this brief, but I'm just going to throw out the name of one of my favorite actresses, Tatiana Maslany, and I think she would make an excellent Saavik. Or even a Rand. She is one of the most malleable actresses out there, and she does face acting and subtle differences like nobody's business. If you haven't yet watched Orphan Black, you're missing a tour de force of this woman's prowess. And honestly, I just want her in Star Trek because I would love to see her get more recognition in more sci-fi franchises. So there's my vote for Tatiana Maslany on Strange New Worlds. Hope you all are well.
I really like that pick.
Yeah.
I could totally
a
see
very
that.
strong pick. I could see, again, but Tatiana Maslany could play almost any role.
Literally,
These characters.
All right, Jesse, did we have any write-ins for Saavik?
So one of our friends on Twitter, whose name is Jolinar,
Like
great
that.
name,
Yep.
by the way, suggested Serinda Swan for Saavik. I haven't seen this actress's work personally, but looking at the headshot and the list of stuff she's been in, yeah, I think it's a great pick, and it's definitely somebody that could pull the role off. And it almost, I believe...
Holy crap, yeah.
I feel like I saw something on her resume that made me think she may have some previous work with some of the people that are already on the show. Excellent pick there. This is one that I definitely had some trouble with. I don't know about you guys, but I believe Cameron has to go first this time.
No, John goes first.
Okay.
We're snaking that way.
So this was one of my. I'm like, okay, this is a small role, so we could get a big performer to play in this small role, and my pick came down to, like I said, who I knew and who I thought could play that type of serious role while also actually bringing the emotion, and I think Alicia Vikander would be a great choice. She did that kind of role in Ex Machina. She's got really good comedic chops for the those goofy Vulcans not getting emotions type thing. I think she's hilarious in Man from U.N.C.L.E. And yeah, I think she has the ability to bring that role, but I'm going to steal Tatiana Maslany because that's an inspired choice. And so,
Nice.
Locking her in.
Nice. Well done, Abby.
Yeah.
Patrick, you're up.
Alrighty, so I will. So ChatGTP suggests ChatGTP says for Saavik, I think Lupita Nyong'o would be an excellent choice. She has the poise and intensity to portray a Vulcan while also bringing a warmth and humanity to the role. Now, to be fair to ChatGPT, I think that's a very interesting choice, a great choice. You could definitely go in that direction. However, and that's going to be my choice because I can't pick Tatiana Maslany, but I would want to pick Tatiana Maslany. But since she's already been taken in the draft, we will go with Lupita Nyong'o.
All right.
No, okay. All right. Yeah. So my runner-up is maybe a little obvious. I thought Emma Watson playing a Vulcan. I could see that. Just the highly intellectual. But my final choice, I finally thought of, and I felt very strongly about it when I thought of her. Mostly, I just want to see her in more stuff now that Cowboy Bebop was canceled. But I would like to see Daniela Pineda play Saavik. I think she's got the look. And I think she could convey a lot in an eyebrow arch or a smirk.
Oh, yeah. And that, what did ChatGPT mention? So definitely, I believe it was intensity and
Warmth
poise.
and humanity, poise.
Yeah.
Poise and intensity. Yeah. That's definitely
Yeah.
a poise and intensity pick right there. That's a good pick.
That's a very good pick.
Man. Yeah, you're 100% right. She's already got like the Vulcan or the facial structure that we often associate
angular,
with Vulcans. Yes, lots of angles, etc. Yeah, I am super down for Daniela Pineda as Saavik.
Or again, as anyone on Strange New Worlds, I would love to see her join that cast.
I have to agree with that.
Yeah.
I believe that means I am next, correct?
It is.
Okay, I
yes,
have
sir.
learned the rotation. So yes, as Cameron hinted to, I did reach into the world of Scream for this because I think Melissa Barrera, who plays one of the leads in Scream 6 and 5, actually, opposite Star Trek alum Jack Quaid, is I think she would make a great Saavik. She has the intensity. We know that she has star power. She has now led 2 Scream movies in a row. I believe the most recent one was the most successful one financially yet, which, there's a lot of reasons that could be, but like for it to be the first one that doesn't have the old lead of Neve Campbell in it and to still do well, I think is impressive.
Mm-hmm.
She is very good at intensity under the surface, especially in that movie. She's got a lot of emotional stuff going on, which I think we've all, touched on. Vulcans have a ton of emotions. They're controlling them more than a human does. It's not that they're devoid of emotion. And wow, yeah, I think I would want to pick Tatiana Maslany also. I think that might be the winner. Oh man, that's difficult. Cameron, what was yours again?
Daniela Pineda.
I think I'm going to go with Daniela Pineda. Actually,
But you can't.
But I'm saying if we're gonna build a full between her and Tatiana Maslany, I might lean Daniela Pineda. I think I would. My pick though is still going to be Melissa Barrera, and I think she would rock it.
All right.
All right.
Well, good. Let's move on to Janice Rand then.
Okay, here we go. Here's our calls for
Good old beehive hairdo Janice.
Hey, Jesse from Alaska here with a suggestion for yeoman Janice Rand. I'm going to suggest Swedish actress Julia Ragnarsson. She's been in a handful of Nordic noir shows, and she was also in the movie Midsommar. I don't know if she speaks any English, but a Swedish accent could be really unique for Janice Rand. She's really pretty, but she also looks like she could kick some ass if needed. And I feel like Janice Rand would need that kind of look.
Julia Ragnarsson. I have not heard of her before. Man, she's like looking at pictures here. Like she could absolutely play either of Deanna Muldar's roles too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Our next caller,
Janice Rand, could totally be played by Emma Roberts, who is adorable and a really good actress. So, yep, that is my suggestion for Janice Rand.
all right, and that was Millie calling in.
Thanks, honey. No, I agree that was a good one, but I couldn't go with it, so she wanted to make sure it got mentioned.
Our first ever Open Pike Night end around. I appreciate that.
All right, that's it for callers. Who do we? What kind of write-ins did we have, Jesse?
We had a lot. There were a lot of suggestions for Janice Rand. A lot of them, I personally think, are probably folks that are not available for a series regular.
That's not a consideration for this, Jesse.
Which I understand, but
it's a fantasy
that's
cast.
part of why I personally hadn't chosen any of these people. But I will say thank you to the big guy 86 who suggested the ultimate, possibly the ultimate fantasy cast for her, which was Margot Robbie, until Max Surfer Lee suggested Anya Taylor-Joy. Now, I think Anya Taylor-Joy fits the physical profile very well, but again, one of those high demand items. Fantastical Isef suggested Katie Sackhoff for Janice Rand, which I appreciate for the high crossover energy. Yep. And then the aforementioned Jolinar, again, great name. I wish that somebody had given me that if I were named Joe. Recommended Catherine McNamara for Janice Rand. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, okay, that might be my pick too, actually. That's a really good pick.
She seems the right age too, yeah.
But there is one other that is going to end up being my pick that came from Twitter, so I'm not going to mention it right now.
Okay.
But I will mention it when my turn comes up, and as soon as I figure out who it was that said it.
All right. Well, then, Patrick, you get to start, or should I say ChatGPT gets to begin.
Chatrick. Sure. We should call him Chatrick.
Chatrick.
First, it's kind of interesting to note that ChatGPT did have Anna Taylor-Joy as a suggestion, except it was one of its suggestions for Saavik. Interesting, which I thought was a pretty actually.
I can see that.
Yeah, that's a pretty decent suggestion. Yeah.
But the number one choice from ChatGPT for Janice Rand was Aubrey Plaza, which may be a little older than we'd expect for this. I think this was an issue that ChatGPT had. I kept trying to say no, younger, as if they're 10 years younger. But it says Aubrey Plaza, known for her dry humor and deadpan delivery in shows like Parks and Recreation and Legion, could bring a fresh and unexpected take on the character of Janice Rand, which I think is a fair thing to say. It would be very fresh and unexpected. It would be, I suspect, a very different character than we were introduced to in the first season of Star Trek, the original series.
Or the
she was actually my runner-up for Saavik.
Yeah.
All right, my turn next. This one I like a lot, even though the actress is probably 15 to 20 years too old, but I think she could easily play 15 to 20 years younger. I admit maybe she just looks a lot like the original actress and the blonde hair, but I just love her so much. I got to go Kristen Bell as Janice Rand.
Actually, I think that's a great choice with the
and then we can have the musical episode.
Right? And musical that's not the first time we're going to hear about musical episodes on this.
I was trying to think of singers and musicians to cast. I couldn't get any that were just right. I have a runner up later that's left field but interesting.
Excellent. All right, who's up next? Jesse?
I would like to say thanks to @HelmsLady44 for this answer, because as soon as I saw it, I realized, that's the correct answer. That's what I'm going to go with. And that's Haley Atwell. She, despite me not having seen all of Agent Carter, I have seen a lot of Haley Atwell, and I think that given her work in the version of the past that she has done, right, she could really handle the weird future nostalgia past thing going on, future retro going on with Strange New Worlds very well, and I know she would wear that hair just magnificently, right? So as soon as I saw that, I locked it in for myself. Thank you very much @HelmsLady44 on Twitter for the suggestion.
Well, I guess that just leaves me. My main pick, again, with a smaller role, I went with a bigger star, and I thought Florence Pugh could be really fun as Janice Rand. Could bring the seriousness and the levity. Could have fun with it. And yeah, I'm gonna stick with my pick. The callers and write-ins had some great suggestions, but I'm gonna stick with Florence Pugh.
100%. She was on my short list too.
Yes, she was mentioned on Twitter multiple times. Some of the ones that I didn't bring from Twitter are ones that we got, multiple times. So,
well, I get to begin for Chekov, which is good because I really only have one person. I didn't realize Chekov was so young.
Yeah.
Oh yes, I'm sorry, but let's hear, because maybe they'll have something for me.
All right, here is our caller for Chekov.
Hey guys, this is Tessa. It is criminal that you're only giving us 45 seconds, so I'm going to do the best that I can. I think that Chekov should be played by Jeremy Jordan, because with Celia being an actress who did a lot of musicals, I am really trying to build a dream cast for a musical episode, and we all know that the most important trio in TOS was Nyota, Chekov, and Sulu. Along with that, he is Jewish, and I think one of the things that Strange New Worlds is missing out on is the fact that Star Trek has always really highlighted Jewish actors, and he did a Hanukkah movie last year, so I think that we need someone else who does holiday movies so that Dan Janot isn't the only one. Oh my God, 45 seconds is really hard to hit. I can't believe that I did it.
Well
Good job,
done,
Tess.
Tessa.
Yeah, good
That
work.
was
Tessa.
wonderful.
Well, and that's also a good pick. I'm not familiar with that
That's-
actor, but I am very glad that we have your input there. Now, as far as write-ins go, Chekov actually did receive one write-in from what I have seen, and there was no. I believe the justification was I don't know why this popped into my head, but this person was
fair.
this person was paired with a Scotty choice as well, so we'll get to that. Thank you to @FistofFiore, which I believe I am pronouncing correctly,
That
for
looks
the
like it,
suggestion of Elliot Page. I think that would totally work. There is a youthful energy to Chekov, of course, that we are all shooting for here, which is obviously going to be the difficult part because I'm going to let you guys just peek behind the curtain, those of you listening at home. Everyone here is older than a certain age. So if in case you hadn't put that all together, right? So like this is the character where I was like, you guys, I don't know. And then, I thought about it some more and I eventually landed on somebody. Excellent pick. Thank you, Tessa. And thank you @FistofFiore for your suggestions.
Yeah.
That is good. I was trying to think of someone for Elliot Page. Yeah, Chekov is, I think, 22 in the original series, which would put him at like
Yeah.
14 for Strange New World
Yeah.
season 2-ish. So depending when he showed up, so I was just thinking kid actors. And honestly, I am out of the loop on kid actors. Tessa, Jeremy Jordan looks great. I don't feel I can choose him having not seen anything he's in. But I believe you. That's a good choice. So I'm just going to stick with, and I'm you're going to find I'm pulling a lot from the show, from the Umbrella Academy's number 5, Aidan Gallagher. Just an amazing young talent.
Yeah,
I think he could do Chekov.
He was my second pick. Yeah.
Producer John, pull up a picture of that guy. I need to see it. I don't know what he looks like.
Yeah, you'll be able to tell that I'm currently making my way through the Umbrella Academy because that whole cast popped up a lot.
Oh,
Yeah.
excellent.
And he is also a hell of an actor.
Yeah, I could totally see him. I think he'd be a great Chekov.
I like it. I only know young actors from Stranger Things. I mean, not exclusively, right? But like, here's the thing. Those kids, they're really good actors. I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but so I can hear you out there saying you cast Noah Schnapp based purely on his haircut. And that's not, it's not that that's untrue. Okay. But on top of the haircut, this kid can act. Like I said, they all can act, but like there is some serious heartstring pulling going on in season 4. If you haven't seen Stranger Things, I haven't watched the last episode yet. Don't say anything. But there is, there's so much youthful energy in the whole cast, that for him to stand out as like truly vulnerable and youthful among them is quite an impressive feat, in my opinion. So I'm going to stick with Noah Schnapp. I have an alternate for like in case Chekov were, I don't know, like 40. And that's Daniel Bruhl. But I think Daniel Bruhl would be fun for like one episode as future alternate Chekov, right? Like,
especially if he kept his German accent.
Yeah, I think that would be the only way he could play
Chekov.
it. I think he would have
Anton
to
Chekov,
yes,
time spy.
I think he would have to keep his German accent. That would be the only way I'd want that Chekov. But yes, I'm going with Noah Schnapp.
The nuclear
or Schnapp,
vessels.
However, it's like you don't think that would work?
That's a whole new meaning.
But I would go with Noah Schnapp. It's the haircut.
Okay, yeah, no.
that's
Yeah,
fine.
I mean, the impressive thing about him is that that's probably the least or the most underwritten character on the show because for
Right.
the first season or so,
He's
he
gone.
was like he's the MacGuffin. So yeah, I mean, the fact that he shines despite that is testament.
Yeah.
Producer John.
I'm going to. So I did not do the mental math in my head for how old Chekov would be if he were to show up in the series right now. So I was thinking Freddie Highmore. Let him have some fun with a Russian accent. He could definitely play the wide-eyed innocence. But I'm going to go ahead and steal Jeremy Jordan from Tessa. I think that is a better choice, and I think she knows what she's talking about.
Patrick.
All right,
Round
so
us out.
now, Jesse, I'm going to help you out here because do you know who else chose Noah Schnapp?
Oh,
as
really?
Chekov? Yes, not the number one choice. Number two choice for ChatGPT.
Was number one the other
OpenAI.
kid from Stranger Things?
Well, no. Okay, so Noah Schnapp was the one when I tried to narrow it down. It was like TV actors, but when you didn't say TV actors, which by the way, ChatGPT has a very interesting definition of who TV actors are. Doesn't seem to be aware that some of those people are now movie stars. But the very first choice was Timothy Chalamet.
Yeah.
That's who ChatGPT really seemed to want. And for Timothy Chalamet, ChatGPT says he has a youthful look and could bring a fresh take to the character's energy and enthusiasm. And for Noah Schnapp, it says could bring a youthful energy and enthusiasm to the role of Chekov. And I will say, I played around with the ChatGPT for a while. It did also eventually suggest Finn Wolfhard. It's a big fan. It's a big fan of Stranger Things.
I just feel like those guys are all mid-20s now. So
well, that's
like,
yes, that's the
right.
thing.
And that's
Timothy
part
Chalamet
of it. Like,
is the oldest, but probably looks the youngest of all of them.
outside of Noah Schnapp, because I think Finn Wolfhard is starting to look older. I wouldn't say that he looks like, decrepit or a curmudgeonly or anything, but he's
looks like
looking older now.
And that was not always the case.
Yeah.
Right, they all look like they could now, except maybe Noah Schnapp, right? Like I feel like I could maybe take Noah Schnapp, not in a mean way. I just
in a fight,
just
I'll just throw out Jackson Robert Scott. I haven't seen Lock and Key, but I was doing some Googling and pictures of him came up, and he looked really good for the part and is probably the right age. He was younger than Aidan Gallagher.
Okay.
So Jackson Robert Scott, probably good, but I haven't actually seen his performances.
Is he 8? Oh, he's okay. He's 14.
Definitely on the
He's
younger
14.
side.
God, I was like, Cameron, you can't cast a child in Starfleet.
He's
And then
14, but he plays 3.
He's not. It doesn't have to be in Starfleet. They're just going to visit his parents on an asteroid or something. That's
this
what
is
happens in Star Trek,
before, right? Like,
Yep.
That's true.
All right, let's hear what the callers thought for Sulu. I'm very interested in this one.
Okay, here we go. First caller.
Hi, Open Pike Night. It's Mariah calling. I am finally back from COVID land, so able to participate in this upcoming episode. Here's my pitch for Hikaru Sulu. Bowen Yang, who was in the movie Fire Island. I think it's really important to have a gay Asian actor play Sulu because of what George Takei has meant to the fandom over the years. And I think that Bowen Yang could do a great job. The end.
Yeah, I thought of Bowen Yang.
Wow.
She nailed the time limit. Like, did you hear the confidence in that? Like, this is the answer. Here you go. The end.
Oh, she had 12 seconds to spare.
Yeah, she should have a podcast.
All right, here's our next caller.
Hey, this is Jessie from Alaska with a suggestion on an actor to play Sulu. Makenyu Arata. He is the son of Sony Chiba, so he has that going for him. He's fairly athletic. He mostly does like Japanese films and television, but he has this one movie called The Knights of the Zodiac that's coming out soon, or maybe it has come out. I just watched a trailer for it. He just has this athleticism that reminds me of Sulu.
All right, Jesse from Alaska calling in with the hat trick this time. People were allowed to call in and give multiple suggestions, so she sent us some clips, and those were our callers for Hikaru Sulu.
And
that's always the description I look for when I go on casting calls, is fairly athletic. That's my bread and butter. That's not a true story.
My shortlist had McKinney on it, that's an excellent, interesting pick that it would come up on your list as well. And I think it's a really good pick. I watched a couple of interviews with him, and he has some serious stage presence. Like, so I watched a clip from I think it's a Japanese talk show where there are like 14 people on stage with him, and they're all talking. And they're like, okay, do a skit. Like, how would you greet somebody if you were in an American high school? And he pretends to do that, but it's difficult to follow, like, without subtitles, just because there's so much chaos. But like, you still are able to like see that he's commanding all of the presence when the camera is on him. And I'm like, all I know is that this guy is an important guy. Like, I can't really tell what's happening, but I know that guy knows what he's doing, right?
I want to know what that show is. That sounds like a fascinating show.
I will literally send, I think I sent the clip to John and Cameron, so I'll send you the clip, Patrick. It's like, I mean, make sure that you watch it with plenty of podcasting juice. Just trust me on that. Trust me on that. And that's a great pick. Does that mean Cameron is going first this round? Oh, we do have some.
No, you go first unless we have Twitter.
We do have some Twitter answers for this one. So at Stevie or Steven suggested Telly Leung, who I believe played a younger version of George Takei in the show Allegiance, which I think is a stage show. I looked him up. Guy looks like he would be a great Sulu. He has some serious acting chops, obviously, continuing that whole stage to screen theme that is so prevalent with all of Star Trek, right? And also we had another one, a second person had a hat trick, this time on Twitter. The Big Guy 86 comes in with character number 2, suggesting Simu Liu. And you know, if you put all of the Big Guy 86's cast together, just the 3 picks he sent, that's like the entire budget for the show in casting.
This is true.
But again, it's a fantasy cast. Like, who cares, right? It's a fun exercise, and that's the whole point. So those are the picks that we got from Twitter. So thank you very much. So
well, and he's worked with Jenna Mitchell, right?
Yes,
Wrong
we
Fu.
know that he has actually.
Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, that's not entirely outside the realm of possibilities. So my pick, as I mentioned, I had Jesse's pick on my short list. I actually ended up going with Makenyu's brother, Gordon Maeda, who is also Sonny Chiba's son. But I guess he's mostly known for a live action adaptation of Tokyo Revengers. And I looked up the trailer for it, and it is bananas. And it's like a go back in time, inhabit your previous self, become a different person sort of thing. And I mean, that's acting chops, right? Like, you're playing multiple versions of the same character as the star of a film, and you're the main character. So it's like, I watched a clip from that movie, a couple clips from that movie, and it's like, yeah, if we're gonna stick with the martial arts background that was probably not the most considered thing when it was added to Sulu's character originally, but eventually became, you know, a little bit more fleshed out. Then I think actually either Gordon Maeda or Makenyu would be a great pick, but I'm gonna stick with Maeda personally.
All right, John, you're next.
So for Sulu, I thought about, okay, who can, like one of our previous callers said, the trio, the Sulu, Chekov, Uhura trio, like, they need to be able to have a good presence together. They need to be able to play off each other when the captain and Una are off the bridge. I thought about, again, like the athletic ability, the humor, but also just sort of the wide-eyed wonder of being in space and flying a starship. And I thought that good old, since we already have Pillboy on the Cerritos, I thought, why not have Jason Mendoza, Manny Jacinto himself, as Sulu on the Enterprise? And I think he could have a lot of fun with the role and really bring some fun energy to it.
Love to see him sword fighting.
Exactly.
Yes. Great.
But I feel like he and Celia Rose Gooding would be like just fantastic together, having fun on the bridge.
Patrick.
All right. So ChatGPT, I'm heavily relying on ChatGPT here because it suggests Ross Butler, who played Zach Dempsey in 13 Reasons Why, and suggests that he could bring a charming and adventurous take to a younger version of Sulu. Now, I looked up this gentleman because I'm unfamiliar with his work, and I have not watched 13 Reasons Why, but he certainly got the look, and I can't vouch for his acting ability. I'll let the audience figure that out, but he does have the backing of ChatGPT.
And look at the hair. We could get yet another like hair-centric meme for Strange New Worlds going here. This kid is rocking a serious mane, you guys.
Yes,
could be the season-long simmering arc, antagonism between he and Christopher Pike.
And when they both inevitably get space madness, that's what they fight over.
And then what happens is they get trapped in a shuttlecraft together, and they have to combine their hair powers to solve the problem, and then they become friends after it.
It writes itself.
It's like aggravated that they're hanging out.
Antimatter device, but with the two hairs.
Yeah, they just have to. It's like the friction from rubbing.
Start
some static electricity.
Yep.
we need a spark.
Restart the engines.
But they took our uniforms and our comm badges.
Suddenly this became a whole different type of episode too.
Oh, yeah.
Shout out to Kelly.
All right. Well, I tried to think of a Japanese actor. I discovered I just don't know any Japanese actors under the age of 50. Sadly, I know a few over that. But then, John Cho wasn't Japanese, so I figured that gave me some leeway. I also, this is probably a good point to make, that we weren't allowed to use the 2009 cast, although most of them could probably still play younger versions of themselves. They all look amazing. John Cho would still be amazing. I went with Justin Min, who plays Ben in Umbrella Academy.
He was my second choice.
Going back to my Umbrella Academy. Well,
yep.
I think he's great. I'm about to get in season 3 where it looks like he really kind of takes a turn as a character, and I can't wait to see that. Yeah. But it looks like he's got some real chops there.
Yeah. What's interesting with is that the ChatGPT, this is the only character where it initially suggested it said John Cho, but then said, but okay, he's already been cast, so I'll hear some other options. But they didn't do that for any of the other characters, so it really likes John Cho, and it's like, okay, I guess you're not going to use him. So, but it thought to mention it.
Your ChatGPT has a very interesting attitude and voice there. And mine doesn't come across that way. It really
feels like it was like influenced by an actual Hollywood executive. Like if you tried to do this, somebody would go John Cho, and they'd be like, no, he was already in the Star Trek movie. They'd be like, yeah, John Cho.
Yes, precisely, or a John Cho type.
Right.
Yes.
And you hear that sometimes about actors saying, like, everyone is always like, they're looking for my type, but they don't hire me.
Yeah.
They hire me. I'll do the job.
I was going to say Bruce Campbell. Yeah.
Well, in Melissa Navia, she was like, everybody would tell me, like, you're so specific, and that's not what we need. And it's like, okay. So that's, I mean, wow.
I'll start writing this character.
Yeah.
All right. Scotty's next, speaking of specific.
Here we go. Here's our call-in for Montgomery Scott.
I know who this is.
Hi guys, it's Isaac from Unplanned Shrek, or as I like to call it, the Australian version of It's Got Star Trek. And it's very exciting to hear that Patrick's on the show. G'day, mate. Now, your question this week has been about recasting original series characters into Strange New Worlds. I'd just like to say, there is one obvious one that we can get. Jason Isaacs. He can play Prime Captain Lorca. It's the same time period. And we've always wanted to know, where is Lorca? So he's my number one pick. But if you can't get him for that role, can we get him to play Scotty? Because I'm not sure if you remember, guys, but in season 1 of Discovery, he did a very good Scottish engineer accent. And, it was perfect. It might have been fan service, but I am here for the fan service. Let me know what you guys think.
All right, Isaac from Unplanned Trek, because I'm Planned Trek. Sorry, calling in with a great choice. I had forgotten about that moment of Discovery. I had to go back and rewatch it. Like, oh, that's right. He does do a little bit there for just for fun. Yeah.
Oh, I'll have to check that back out too.
I actually really like that pick. That's a little bit inspired. Can you be a little bit inspired? Is that like being a little bit unique?
Oh yeah.
I think you can be a little bit inspired. I get aggravated when people say very unique because it's, and I say it all the time, and I chastise myself because I was like, no, you're either unique or not. But inspiration is a spectrum.
As the greatest intro to the
There's a t-shirt.
Intro to the greatest TV show ever said, I'm a little bit single even when I'm not. I mean, come on.
I'm going to put both of those quotes on t-shirt, like maybe one on the front and one on the back even. So we did the aforementioned at Fist of Fiore mentioned Elliot Page for Chekov, but also Jamie Quinn for Scotty. Now, I don't know this actor, but the picture made me think that looks like it would be a good pick. I haven't seen any of this actor's work, but he is definitely, I believe, Scottish, and that's probably the one thing that most people stuck to here is you're like, you know what, let's actually pick a Scottish actor for the Scottish character.
We haven't yet, so why start now, though?
So, true, right?
Well, some of us haven't, but okay, so then...
Hollywood hasn't.
Right, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Also Cameron. So the big guy 86, his trifecta is rounded out with Simon Pegg, which of course we cannot do, but it's one of those admissions that like Star Trek 2009 got so many things so correct. Like there are just so many things to point to and go, that's how that should be. To that point, we got a ton of suggestions for Carl Urban as McCoy. I think for a lot of people, he is, I mean, I know for a lot of people he is McCoy, and that's all there is to that.
What I loved about him is he would never have been my first pick. And in fact, when I heard it, I was like, that's a weird, I see every other character. I don't see him. And then the moment you sit down and start watching it, you're like, oh, well, there it is.
Like he
did it.
Performed a seance and is channeling D. Kelly. And I am terrified and inspired in every way.
Yeah, he's the example that makes anytime there's an odd casting choice, he's the example I think of when I'm like, you know, I'm going to give it a chance because you never know. Yeah, you can really surprise you.
That's an excellent point. And the last one that we got for Scotty as a write-in was from @Eric13Red, who mentioned Chris Doohan. Now, I believe Chris Doohan has played Scotty in some maybe semi-official productions, but if there's anybody that likes semi-official productions, it's Open Pike Night. So good pick there. I like that as well. And I do like the, continuity thing with the son of an actor. You know, that's a fun thing to do. Oh, yeah. If you Google him, he shows up in the Scotty uniform.
Almost entirely.
Interesting.
Was that Star Trek? Yeah. Is that Star Trek Continues or Phase 2?
One of them. I can never remember.
Yeah.
I have not seen either. So, but excellent picks. Thank you, Twitter, for your help with Scotty. John is first on Scotty.
Yes, he is.
Right, look at that. I'm learning.
So for Scotty, my next two characters, I decided to go into some other sci-fi universes here. And I decided, okay, you know what? I'm okay with an older Scotty. So I am going to pick and stick with John Barrowman. Captain Jack Harkness from Doctor Who and from Torchwood, and he is actually Scottish. So I think he's got the humor. He can absolutely carry an engineering section, and it'd be fun to have a little older character there playing Scotty.
That's a very good pick, John. And I don't mean to overshadow it by saying I'm really sorry, but I forgot one more Twitter pick for Scotty.
This better be good,
which
Jesse.
also reaches directly into another sci-fi franchise. Our friend @ACraig2031 recommends Alex Ferns, who I believe was most recently in Andor.
Yes.
And as soon as I saw the side-by-side, I was like, I could deal with that. I think that's a really good pick.
That was a great pick. Okay,
and,
that one was
so
worth,
we had it separated on the outline because it was such a good pick.
Yeah.
And that's why I didn't see it as we were going through it.
I mean, look at that bottom left picture.
Yeah. I mean, that's James Doohan.
And and like having watched Andor, the attitude he can bring, like, it's like he can be the great everyman engineer.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, that was again one of those roles that, like, on paper there's not much there, but he really kind of brought it to life.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think I might go for that. I'll let the rest of you guys go since I forgot to bring that one up. But I do really like that pick.
I like it a lot too, but Patrick is next.
All right, so I think ChatGPT has let us down a little bit here in both of its choices. I'll give you both, and I'll pick one. For the role of Scotty, I think Ewan McGregor could be a great fit. And here's the thing. Okay, so first of all, he's too old, right? It's like I love Ewan McGregor, but all right, it's a little too on the nose. ChatGPT, if you ask me, it's just like, all right,
10 years ago he might have been able to play that young, but not anymore.
But what I like is the justification that the AI has provided is he has the ability to portray both the technical expertise and the Scottish charm that makes Scotty such a beloved character. Technical expert, is that just because Ewan McGregor rides motorcycles? Is that
I don't know.
Where are they getting that he's particularly good at technical expertise?
Or was in Star Wars?
He explains how to shoot heroin pretty well in Trainspotting.
Yeah, well, that's exactly. Or is he's good at shooting up? I don't know.
Or he's good at pressing a button because a lightsaber is like one thing. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
Have we ever seen him be like some kind of brainiac?
Yes, he's a motorcycle mechanic in The Island by Michael Bay.
Yeah.
So
and in real
his
life.
documentary.
In real life.
Yeah.
But the second choice, because I basically said, no, he's too old. We're looking for somebody, And by the way, ChatGPT got mad at me when I was like, what about what would they look like in 2259? And got very confused by that. But the second choice, and I think the choice we're going to lock in for on behalf of ChatGPT, is Harry Styles.
Yes.
Known for his musical career and Dunkirk. could bring a boyish charm and a technical expertise to the role of a younger. Again, I don't know what this technical expertise these people are bringing. I think Harry Styles is actually on the too young side, probably at least young looking, because Scotty is a little bit, he's got some experience.
He's the oldest of the TOS crew. Yeah. He'd be like 32, 33, 34 now. Harry Styles is actually on my short list for Bones, and I really liked him there.
I think it works better for that. But works better for Bones.
Yeah. So who are you locking? You're locking in Styles?
I'll lock in Styles for that.
Okay. That's better than Ewan McGregor. Yeah.
Good, because I don't think he would work for Bones.
All right. So I was trying to think of someone who could play like the charming drunk is kind of the angle I was looking for.
I mean, I'm happy to do it.
How dare you?
And Patrick from Scott Star Trek.
Patrick sounds like a Scottish
I did
name.
think of Tom Hopper from Umbrella Academy, who plays, I forget the character's name, but
Luther.
the big gorilla guy. He plays a great drunk. He's funny and charming. He's dramatic too. I think he'd be good. For some reason, though, I was like, you know what? I think anyone who played a Weasley could play this character. For some reason, I got into the Weasley weeds, and I stuck with Domhnall Gleeson from Star Wars, the other sci-fi project, and many other things. I think he's a great actor. I think he could pull it off.
Wow. A skinny Scotty.
Yeah. A little skinny Scotty. But I mean,
nothing wrong with that.
The first season of TOS, he was a little, I don't know. Yeah.
Wow.
He filled out over the years.
Yes,
That's what I'm saying.
Feels like we're in a really weird place. Like, did James Doohan do something to you, Cameron? Like, are you trying not to?
No, I love James Doohan.
Any episode where you're casting people there's always a weird feeling in that episode. So we're just going to roll with it and have fun.
Good. Okay. Well, I would be remiss if I did not mention one of our best friends and one of my longest podcast life supporters, Rosalita9899 on Twitter, recommended Jewel State for Scotty, which I think is actually pretty cool, and I could totally see that. Now, Rosie did go on to recommend the rest of the Firefly cast to fill out this bridge, which I totally get. I think they're all probably a little bit too old now, but that's okay. Again, it's a fan cast. My pick for Scotty, I think this actor might be, well, probably not, but this actor is one of the Scottish actors to whom I have the most personal exposure, and that's Richard Madden from Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
I think he's got the intensity in the eyes. You could believe that he was intelligent enough to be running this entire thing. Dude has experience. He knows how to be in a drama. He also knows
can handle
how to
the technical expertise too.
Well, and
Bob, but what about the Scottish charm?
Maybe what ChatGPT means is that he's able to act around very goofy made-up words, right? Because he is. He's able to do that, and he's able to make those things believable. Now, I really like some of the picks that we have had so far for this, but this is one of the few picks that I felt really strongly about that I had kind of nailed, so I'm going to stick with Richard Madden for Scotty.
I like it.
Good choice. That's very solid.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to go back and I'm going to steal the Andor guy for mine. Then.
All right.
That's I was genuinely considering doing that.
That sounds right.
Yeah, it's Alex Ferns.
And now our final character.
Yep. Okay.
Leonard Bones McCoy.
Yep. First up, we have a brand new caller.
Oh, exciting.
I'm a fan from China, and I really want to see Bones just as Leonard McCoy appeared in The Strange New World.
So they didn't call in with a suggestion, but welcome to Open Pike Night Stage. Thank you for calling in. And I think probably, I don't know, of all these characters, before we cast Bones, who do you want to see first? Like who would? And I'm gonna go with her. I think Bones, one, because of the way they introduced him in the 2009 into the Kelvin verse, just be like, hey, my life just imploded. Fine, Starfleet. I'll go with that. It's like, they could literally just meet him, pick him up, do interact with him anywhere in any way, and it would kind of make sense. So I think Bones would be my pick to see first show up on Strange New Worlds of the original series cast.
I'd agree with that. I think that the first of all, he's a bit of an older character. relatively speaking to some of the other ones that we've selected. So he wouldn't be in a kindergarten or summer camp when we meet him. But because of the character's backstory, I think there's a lot of ways they could go. Maybe you get him before he sort of goes back to or signs up for Starfleet. Maybe some adventure that he has encountering Pike and friends is what leads him to do that, or whatever, something along those lines. So I think there's a lot they could do with McCoy.
Yeah. Or if he is grumpy, like to pair that character with Christopher Pike and the characters on his bridge, right? Like the dynamic there would be very new for this show. And I think that would work really well.
Well, yeah, I think I'd love to see Sulu make a little appearance as maybe, he's still in the academy and he meets Ortegas and it's just like starstruck.
Put that evil on Ortegas.
What? No, he meets her and is starstruck and he wants to live up to be like her. Like she becomes his role model.
Yes, that I can deal with. He cannot be on the show yet, but he can be in an episode.
No, he's not. Yes. They're just going to meet. They're going to they've got some Starfleet cadets. They're doing a little tour.
Like she saves
lower
my heart rate.
Some kind of,
yeah.
They can go to star bases.
She teaches them some sword fighting.
Yeah, I think
pilots and sword fighting.
Right, go down to some planet and meet these people, and then that way they don't have to hang out on the ship as much.
Somebody on Twitter had mentioned they'd like to see the Kelvin verse made canon, which I believe it already is, but they want to see that crew meet up the Strange New Worlds crew, which I'm like, I don't know if I could.
Sure.
If I'm cool with that, like I get that I would be when it happened. The thing that immediately made me think was, well, then I need to see Ortegas and Sulu race. I want to see Enterprise versus Enterprise. I don't care how the race is set up. I don't know how you make that make sense in space, but I want to see it, and I want to see it right now.
We do have one more caller for Bones.
Hey, Open Pike Night. So a little tricky with the Crusher connection this week, but I'm going to do a loose one. Beverly Crusher, CMO of the Enterprise. Dr. Leonard McCoy, also CMO of the Enterprise. There's your Crusher connection. Bones is also my favorite character in TOS, so hear me out on this casting. Carl Urban. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. He was perfect in the reboots. He lives and breathes Bones. He embodies that character perfectly. I think that he could even be an alternate universe McCoy. But if he had to play Prime McCoy, I don't care about age. I still think he can do it. I think he's a wonderful actor. He's in The Boys, so he'll probably do a 10-episode season. And, just get Carl Urban back. Live long and prosper.
That was Michelle bringing the die-hard Kelvin-verse loyalty and Carl Urban loyalty, like we're saying. He's really good.
We would if we could, but it's not. We didn't make the rule. Oh wait, we did make the rules,
but I totally hear you, Michelle. Ever since I saw Carl Urban lead a charge down a hill 2 helms deep to the king at dawn on the 5th day, like I was like, I don't care what he does for the rest of his career. I'm gonna watch it, and I'm gonna I'm probably not gonna be critical about it because I'm having problems. Like, the guy can do no wrong, and he totally is Bones. Yeah. And that really illustrates he's Bones to so many people, even people that love the original series. Excellent pick, but ineligible, unfortunately.
Jesse's young, so I'll forgive him that. Just Johnny come lately, 2 towers, like, psh, okay. Ever since I saw him get ground up by a boat gear in the hit movie Ghost Ship, yes, Carl Urban was in that too, as an underwater welder. He's just good. He's good in everything he's in.
Hey, John, what's Ghost Ship about?
Well, there's a ship, and it's full of ghosts. And there's this weird...
But kind of, so the ship itself is not a ghost. It's got the ghosts are on the ship.
The ship is there. The ghosts
are
there.
That's a misleading title there.
I feel they should have called it Ship of Ghosts, honestly.
Yes, because that's literally what the plot of it was a guy made a deal with the devil to collect so many spirits to, like, get out of hell.
You remember so much more about this movie than I do.
Than anyone should, really.
Hip-hop, weird 1960.
No, I remember the 2 amazing sequences, the opening and that weird flashback. And you can forget the rest.
It's a hell of a
All right, did we have any more Twitter write-ins?
I don't think we had any Bones Twitter write-ins, did we?
Let's see. I probably didn't.
Oh, but other than Carl
so
Urban.
That's the thing, is that most of the Twitter write-ins that we got were Carl Urban as Bones, which I don't disagree with. It doesn't work for the rules that we set up.
All right, Patrick, you get to begin then.
All right. So Chat GPT, and this is a quote. I'm quote. First quote. Chat GPT quote. This is a tough one, as DeForest Kelly's portrayal of McCoy is so iconic. However, I could see someone like Walton Goggins bringing a new interpretation to the role. What? He has the ability to balance humor and gravitas in his performance. And you know what? I would not have thought of Walton Goggins myself. I would be interested to see that. It's a very different direction from Carl Urban, but
he's a little old, but otherwise, yeah.
And he is a little bit on the older side, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Damn, ChatGPT.
I would have literally never chosen that person. Like, not because of anything other than I don't know that that's his name. Like, that doesn't sound like a real name to me.
I know. Well,
that
and
sounds
clearly,
like
part of what the ChatGPT algorithm is doing here is like, oh, it's a kind of a southernish person.
You're right.
Let's narrow it down the list that way. So it's interesting how in some ways it goes way outside of the existing criteria of a character. In other ways, it seems to lock itself into very, very narrow, specific characteristics.
It sounds like it thought you asked it to generate a name for an actor to play somebody. It's like, here's a name, Walton Goggins. With all apologies and respect to Walton
it sounds
Goggins.
like a 1920s nickname for some sort of horrible disease.
He's got the Walton Goggins. Do not go in that room.
One of these days we're gonna want Walton Goggins on the show, you guys. Come on,
because he'll be McCoy, right?
I was gonna say, I'll send him an email right after this.
And as ChatGPT notes, he has the ability to balance humor and gravitas, so he will enjoy whatever we're talking
Walton
about.
Goggins
today.
is amazing. Yeah, I'd watch him in anything.
Wow.
Oh, was that the only pick from ChatGPT?
There were some others, but that was the only one I figured worth mentioning.
You're not gonna beat that.
Yeah, we'll go with Walton Goggins.
All right.
I spent so much time on Bones. I have so many runners up that I'm going to mention, and you guys can steal them if you want. But I went through so many that I liked, but I feel the perfect 30-year-old McCoy is out there, and I don't know if I found him. Jack Quaid, I thought would actually be really good. I think he could do it. Josh Hutcherson, I could see. Zac Efron, maybe, if you wanted to go that route. I don't know. He's too old, but Matthew McFadden would play a good role. I'm not just saying that because he's a friend of the pod. Yeah. But I landed on, and I don't hate this, Will Poulter from Meet the Millers, Chronicles of Narnia, Bandersnatch. Yeah. He's going to be Adam Warlock in Guardian of the Galaxy 3. I think, he's got the comedy, he's got the
eyebrows,
the kind of the smarm, the snark. I think he could do it, and he looks a lot like him.
Yeah, that's a good choice.
Will Poulter.
Okay, so
and I also I did a bonus casting because I did watch The Man Trap in prep for this, and I was like, oh yeah, his ex who he left, Nancy Crater. I thought, whoa, why we've got to see them together. I think the timeline might be a little bit off. They're already separated at this point, but why not? Let's see Aubrey Plaza as Nancy Crater. I did want her there.
You mentioned you had her. Yeah. You guys, I'll be honest, I thought McCoy was way older than you are telling me he was.
He was 39 in the first season.
Okay. That's okay.
Now, is that the character or is that DeForest Kelley or both?
That's what Google told me the character is.
Okay.
Well, regardless,
I think his birth date is firmly established.
Well, in the '60s, everyone looked like that.
Right.
But by the time they turned 17,
exactly. Yeah.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
As Jesse said at one point, McCoy was born 40.
Right. Yeah. So I figured it would be okay to go a little older than that.
That's
especially if you get a great actor who is going to bring gravitas to every moment. And this is probably my first big break the bank one, but I immediately thought of Bryan Cranston and was like, he's super grumpy. I like watching him be grumpy. Like, he could probably pull it off. I don't know if there's a bunch of, and he's got what I think Chat GPT would call technical expertise of having cooked a ton of meth. So he he could be well at home in a laboratory setting. But really what it comes down to is acting prowess, right? You want somebody in that role who can act their face off in every scene. And you need somebody who's going to be believable as like antagonistic without being the antagonist, and jabbing without being taking shots, really, right? Like this character is there to lighten the mood, but also perform very important surgery and keep people from dying. So it's like that's quite a balance to strike, and I think Cranston could totally do it. Now, as I'm speaking, I'm like, you should have just picked any other TV doctor. I'm like, oh, who played House? That was What's that guy's name?
Hugh Laurie.
Yep.
Hugh Laurie.
Right,
Yes, thank
right.
you. I want Hugh Laurie now. Change my answer.
Another characteristic of McCoy that I think DeForest Kelley does very well, as does Carl Urban, is the ability to be exasperated in situations where he really doesn't have a right to be, because he's an intelligent person. He knows what's going on, but he's just acting exasperated. That character does that a lot, and I do think Bryan Cranston could pull that off. Hugh Laurie could pull that off as well.
He'd be like, Jim, I am not the one who gets killed in a transporter accident. I am the one who takes a shuttle.
Well, and that's specifically, John, I'm glad that you brought that up, because I was thinking to Space Seed when he is held at scalpel point, and he's like, so if you cut the carotid, I'll die like that, and it'll be great. That's what I would recommend.
Yeah,
if you do.
a total Walter White move. Absolute
I could
Walter
see
White.
Cranston delivering that line pretty easily, so I'm going to stick with
Was that the scene? Is there a line you guys were thinking of when you were trying to cast him? Because I just kept thinking of the he's got revenge for all those arguments he lost line. Like, that was the vibe I was looking for.
Or I liked you better before you died.
Mine was definitely from Space Seed.
If age is not a concern, Jesse, I think I had mentioned this actor before, and I still think he'd be an amazing Bones of a certain age, would be Nick Offerman.
Oh, 100%.
Oh, yeah.
I don't disagree with that at all. I figured you would stick with that for your pick, so I was like, I'm not going to.
I was thinking from actually for Boyce. I was like, well, the Boyce is just an older Bones.
Yep, that's true.
Yeah.
Nick Offerman, I would love to just originate a new character on Strange New Worlds, because whatever it is would be fantastic.
Yeah. I put him in a space station, like have him play one of those like really randy guys from The Cage that never made it into the series.
Yeah.
Like I think he could play anyone. I think he could play like a Kivas Fajo predecessor style.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Or if they do like if the engineering section is cursed for the Enterprise for a while, and it's just a new engineer every season, it's like great, he's our season 3 engineer. Keep rolling them through.
He could do real well on if they visit a distant outpost that's he's the only person manning the outpost, and he's just socially awkward with all these people hanging out.
And the question
is classic Trek mad
scientist.
And the
question is he socially awkward or
is he hiding
insane criminally?
Yes. And then it turns out, nope, just socially awkward.
Just socially awkward.
A little insane criminally, but
a very
following all of
lighthearted,
the Federation's regulations.
Criminality is a spectrum. Okay,
yeah.
So
I think John gets to make our last pick.
Okay, so like I said, I reached out to some other sci-fi series, and I got to dip back into Doctor Who with this one, and I'm gonna pick Arthur Darvill. He played Rory with Matt Smith's Doctor Who. He is the last Centurion. The guy played a character who lived for 2,000 years waiting for his wife to get out of a prison cell, and like he played beleaguered and just pushing through and doing what needed to be done, even when brokenhearted, so well. I think Arthur Darvill would be a great addition to the cast and would work really well with the existing cast.
He also has the kind of eyes that make you go, just be nice to him. He's trying to help you. Like, what you would want in a doctor, right? Like, yes, he's kind of a jerk, but he's really trying to help you.
Exactly. And he can play that so well. I think
pick.
he could carry the weight.
I didn't know you were such a Whovian, John.
Oh yeah. I've actually finally been catching up with 2 most recent Doctors, but they're finally streaming in the US again. So you got to take it when you get it, because if it's either on or it's only in the UK. So
that's true. Yeah, I was going to start back up and I couldn't find them.
got
Okay,
it
good to know.
So.
But I mean, talk about a show with literally as much or more history than Star Trek, right? Like that thing has been on forever.
Yeah.
Star Trek.
This is I gotta just say really quickly, as an It's Got Star Trek fan,
I'm keeping that soundbite.
I love lecherous old Patrick. Like lecherous old Patrick is one of my favorite characters.
1960s TV producer character is
it's
be upsetting, but the most fun to play around with.
It's just so evocative. Like as soon as I hear
dangle
it, I'm
some
like,
skirts in front of them.
Yeah, so you're picturing the guy right now. You can smell The Office. Like
you go to space, you get the dames in space.
Why are the walls moist?
we want to sell some soap. We gotta get the boys to watch
ashtrays in this room.
Why are you lighting up another cigarette? There's a full one you just lit in the ashtray.
Yeah, those the ashtrays that are so full that they catch on fire periodically, and no one's surprised. It's not a surprise when it happens. It's just that. Oh yeah, it's just about that time.
That's why it's so big. I don't want to empty it.
Oh,
wow. Okay, well, that's how Star Trek gets made, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so would you keep a final roster? Did somebody keep a final roster? Or do we just put all these rosters up and then have the listeners vote on social media?
Get them to vote.
I think so.
I think we do that.
Yep. Got to vote.
Right.
We'll put them to a vote on social media. So after you finish listening to this, head over to Open Pike, at Open Pike on Twitter, at Open Pike on Instagram, the new Open Pike Facebook page, the Open Pike Discord server, the Open Pike YouTube channel.
Just go to openpike.com. We have links to all of that stuff. It's the easiest way to get it all in one place.
Yeah. So you get there, send us a quick voice message, and then go find us on social media. Patrick, where can people find you?
Oh, it's a similar process. They can go to www.itsgotstartrek.com and get links to everywhere they need to be. We're all over the place, but if you do want to find us on social media, at It's Got Star Trek in most places is going to get you there.
Guys, let's talk about the next 10 weeks or so, because we are counting down to season 2 of Strange New Worlds. And we were working on still getting some more interviews about season 1, but with producers, writers, actors, anybody we can get. Schedules are getting a little tight now that season 3 has been confirmed filming, but we will continue bringing you some great Strange New Worlds content. Personally, I'm going to announce I'm going to start working on bringing out a little bit of a mystery on. We need to find out who ratted on Una, because somebody did. Somebody talked. OPSEC was bad. Una got arrested. And I know the whole series, the first couple episodes are going to be about getting her cleared, but somebody talked, and I want to figure out who.
Perhaps La'an in a moment of anger for being lied to about being an augment monster.
We also know Ensign Chalamet had some very strong feelings about Illyrians from that deleted scene.
Yeah, Ensign Chalamet, leave it in your quarters, buddy. Like, dang.
But I mean, I hate to say it, guys. We know from False Future that we saw that Ortegas can have a little bit of a racist streak in her.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
and
that's right.
As Jesse has pointed out, she's only in 3 episodes this season.
I have to own up to this, because this is only a thing because it became a thing because I have a small neurosis. Or I don't know what the size. I don't know how you classify neuroses. I'm not a neurosizologist. But I was very worried when I went to the International Movie Database website and found out that Melissa Navia was only listed in 3 episodes of season 2 of Strange New Worlds. I was like, okay, but like, it shouldn't mean anything, right? Like, it really shouldn't. But like, if her agent is way on top of stuff, I don't know, maybe she's only in 3 episodes of season 2, and then of course, she wouldn't talk about it when she's here for season 1. I kind of started freaking out just a little bit, especially because we know Sulu is eventually going to sit in her chair. I'm happy to report that I recently read an interview on, I will just say, inverse.com, because I was so relieved. She did say, don't worry, you'll see plenty of Ortegas throughout all 10 episodes of season 2.
Okay.
As
and I
they're
was
scrubbing her off the deck plates.
That's what she means by all over 10 episodes.
Exactly. All over.
So I breathed a sigh of relief. Now, of course, somebody in the aforementioned Open Pike Night Backstage Discord server went, what about season 3? And I said, I ain't got time to worry about season 3. I'll do that after season 2, which again is coming up. So when it gets here, be ready, because the Open Pike Night turnaround is a lot quicker during the season than it is during the off season, where you have like a week or 2 to get your call in and time to think about it and script it and hit record 15 times and start over 15 times. It's going to be like a 2-day thing. Okay. Because we're going to need to watch it. You're going to need to watch it. Then you're going to need to call in. And we're going to need to put all that stuff together.
Watch it on a Thursday.
Or a Friday for most people. But
Yeah, or Friday. Yeah. And you call in. You got to call in by pretty much the end of the day on Saturday to get on, because we record on Sunday and then our episodes drop on Tuesday. So it's a 10-week cycle of, if you want to say something about the episode of Strange New Worlds or season 2 as it progresses along, you got to be on it. You got to call in. You got to go to openpike.com/join us and send us your voice to appear on the Open Pike Night Stage, like all the callers tonight.
And part of the reason that process takes as much time as it does is because we want to keep delivering quality shows to you, especially those of you that are not supporting us financially, those of you that made us what we are, the callers, the free listeners, those are the people that we wouldn't have a show without. So we want this show to be quality. That means we need like a day to listen to it for edits. We need like a day to compile all the information together. We have to schedule people to come in and talk about the episode with us, with your calls, and we love doing it. But if for whatever reason you do feel like supporting us, again, just go to openpike.com. You're going to find all kinds of links there. There's Patreon, there's merchandise. We like to give you something for your money. But of course, just like Mr. Spock, your ears are enough for us.
Cameron, where else can people find you?
Wherever you're listening to this, you can find Green Shirt, A Newbie's Trek to the Next Generation, where I am watching The Next Generation for the first time. We are over halfway through season 6, I believe now. I've seen Chain of Command. I'm about to watch the pilot episode of Deep Space Nine. We're going to do a bonus episode on that. What's that episode called, John?
It's just called Emissary.
Yeah, I mean, I'm super excited to start watching DS9 now along with it. We'll at least get the bonus episode for the pilot, and maybe we'll do some little DS9 tidbits along the way. You should be hearing Jesse in that episode as well.
Yeah. I am very excited for that. I really can't tell you how excited I am for that.
It's going to be super fun. All right, and Jesse, where else can folks find you?
If for whatever reason you need more of me in your ears, just stay in this podcasting app and look up Sudden But Inevitable. It's the show where I force longtime friends to like brand new things that I feel like they probably should have seen by now. Stuff like Firefly, Cowboy Bebop, live action Cowboy Bebop, Highlander, etc. Definitely go check out Sudden But Inevitable.
It's been a long night, and the Open Pike Night crew needs to go and update all of their information online so the ChatGPT knows just how much charisma we all have, how well we can emote, and really all of our technical expertise so that any recommendations are as accurate as possible. Thanks for joining us tonight. Don't forget to clean up after yourselves. Don't forget to tip your servers. You can go anywhere you want, but you can't stay here.
I'm sorry, real quick. Saavik or Saavik? Saavik. Okay.
Saavik.
We should have fucking left that.
It sounds like an appetizer.
No, we all should have been Saavik. It's Saavik. It's Saavik.
God damn it.
Next time.